has a good sound. Due to the rhythm, the tempo is remembered. You remember the words that fit to that tempo. And so I also write songs to express certain things that I need the people to get, because they get it more in a song. So we're concerned about African people being under the European philosophy. One of the songs I made was, well, the one I sang, the previous program was the Duppy song, right? And that is concerning the election system that came under Westminster, multi-party election, which I call multi-party division. We divide up a country into groups, tribes, called political parties, you know. And even if they are of the same ethnicity, it doesn't matter. That's what happens. And they fight for power. So the country is never unified anymore. It's divided. So I call it the system of division. So that's the Duppy system, because it's a Duppy versus Duppy against other Duppies. That is the Duppy system. Duppy versus Duppy against other Duppies. That is the Duppy problem. Duppy versus Duppy against other Duppies. When will it come to an end? It's going on in all the countries all around because they're instituting it. And if you want to deal with them, they institute that unless you get good economic and military power, they will still deal with you, like they still have to deal with China, even though China leader is not selected by that system. And neither in Cuba and neither in Islamic states. Certain parts of the rulership are elected, but the supreme rulers and that kind of stuff are not. They're appointed by a few, like a board. So this Duppy system, and proving the fact that we're under, it's called Westminster, you know, because it's the Westminster Parliament in London that created it and promotes it, right? Now, the song that I made, right, to prove that in all aspects, just like I say elections, similarly in the economics of capitalism, we're under the Roman system. So that's why I made that Duppy song concerning elections, and this one is concerning the economic system, which is called capitalism and which is run by a dollar sign. See, it's like it's a serpent. And you mark it once, some dollars mark once, some dollars is marked twice. And that sign, I consider the mark of the beast. The Bible did speak about the number of the beast being 666. But I never heard anyone say what is the mark of the beast. I have found that to be the mark of the beast. And it is a serpent, the old dragon, Lucifer. And it's marked once or twice. Our dollar in the earlier days used to have it twice. I think Jamaica dollar had it once. I don't know what it is now. I gotta check it. So the song I sang, and the other song I sang was, they living in a white man's world, great things, when they can't take the pressure. Black people living in a white man's world, mark of the beast, make the children them a suffer. Yeah, yeah, living in the white man's. But bye, can't take the pressure. Still they want to live in a white man's world. Move, yeah. Make the children them a suffer. Yeah, yeah. They say they want to live in the white man's world. Black politicians and them. Think they're gonna get sheer diamonds and pearls. come out of all my people. I majesty keep warning them. That's not so. From since I was born, that was holy, was propaganda. But when you're living at the white man's world, poor people never prosper when they living at the white man's world. Why every day they getting poorer, living at the white man's world, Lord? Why everybody turn gangster when you're living at the white man's world? Why gangster rule is the order? Gangster rule is to get educated and to work harder. But after years of trying, there's no job offer. You only fooling yourself with Westminster. For the church and the state system is a worldwide failure. For when you're living at a white man's world, it takes too long for you to prosper. So when they living at a white man's world, some people turn drug dealer, living at a white man's world. Lord, the money launderer is the banker when you're living at a white man's world. Always. Poor people live in ghettos. They say your democratic rights will make you prosper. But they are talking like capital does not matter. What do I want with your form of democracy? When what you giving me is democracy in poverty. For when you're living at a white man's world, the dollar is your father. So when they're living at a white man's world, some people make their gun their mother, living at a white man's world. Lord, only two of them are feed you. For when you're living at a white man's world, always. Dollar is your God and ruler. So when you're living at a white man's world, mark the beast, and you can't take the pressure. You better take my advice, my boy. Don't sell out your culture, for when you're living at a white man's world, and you can't take the pressure, I said the only thing you do, my boy, is get a gangster character, for when you're living at a white man's world, not even Jesus can save you, for when you're living at a white man's world, no man is his brother keeper, living at a white man's world, Lord. No one hear you when you holler, for when you're living at a white man's world, blow, 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 gangster rule all over. So when you're living at a white man's world, you have to kill the dollar, for when you're living at a white man's world, if you don't, you kill your brother, living at a white man's world, Lord. Next you rob your neighbor, for when you're living at a white man's world, blow, 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 gangster rule forever. So when you're living at a white man's world, mark the beast, and you can't take the pressure. You better take my advice, my boy. Don't make the children them a suffer. So when you're living at a white man's world, come out of all my people, and you can't take the pressure. I said the best thing to do, my boy, is be a genuine Rasta. Genuine. For I, Selassie children, black Israel. How are them there? Genuine Rasta them. For no individual can defeat Lucifer, only unity. You see King David defeats Lucifer? You see Castro defeats Lucifer? You see Moses defeats Lucifer? Martin Luther King, Burnham, Gaddafi, Saddam, Mandela, Mugabe. Who? No individual can defeat Lucifer, only unity. But there will be no unity among black people until black people get back on military discipline. I Majesty says so. King David agreed. For when Selassie's kingdom has no guards, the devil holds parade. You know, see? So what? So are you ready, 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 ready to fight the Armageddon here? Said, are you ready, 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 ready to defend your nation? Yeah, yeah. Lucifer say him ready, and that you are the enemy. So tell me, are you ready to defend your family, or will you go back in slavery? So are you ready, 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 ready? Tell me. Said, are you ready, 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 ready? Yeah. Do you have your Orthodox cross? Do you have your Star of King David? Do you have your pyramids? Do you have your rank of Coptic Egypt? Ready, 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 ready to... I got limited time because I need to show you, and I did promise to show you, part of the DVD on medical marijuana, which I gave to Mr. Greenjaw in 2016, one of the two. I had shown a couple of pieces in those times after I had given it to him, just little pieces. So I want to show you at least half an hour. So I got to watch my time. So I can't sing out that song. But this is the system that got black people in what they're in. See? So Westminster politics could never bring black people unity. They're all divided because it's the Roman system of division. This is how they operate. Divide and rule. Divide and conquer. So they always come and divide you. North and South Vietnam. The North had to run over the South for them to get unity. North and South Korea till to this day. The Hutus and Tutsis in Rwanda. And in every country got the political parties, vibes going on till to this day. They just instituted in Libya, because they had it there. And they instituted in Iraq, because they had it there. They were run by dictators, as they call them. So the biggest dictator come and dictate to the dictators what they must get in the country. So the black nation has to know itself and know that it ain't supposed to be under no dictator, because the Almighty is not a dictator. He is the one that gives you real freedom. And this is what I'm trying for Mr. Green to understand. Because we are accustomed to dictator business. We were made free by the Almighty, as I was referring to sovereigns. I am a sovereign. I don't know but no Roman come ruling me. That's what I keep telling you. 400 million black men have to light fire anytime they attack us again. Until we get nuclear or such, fire is our weapon. And it is the judgment. This judgment could never be with water. No water can put out this fire. So I quite in order. You must tell God it's arson. Don't tell me. So, that's why I said there will be no unity until black people get back on military discipline. Black people have no discipline. And also, the previous song telling you when you're living in the white man world, right? Selassie, when Selassie kingdom has no gods, the devil holds parade. This is the same song at the beginning. When Selassie kingdom has no God, you see in the black society, the devil is holding parade all the time. God ain't got no guards. The black society is a slack society. You go in Africa and Soweto and all them places. You go in America, in black ghettos areas and all them things. This all the white man allows it to have no guards, but the guard in the fancy people them. So they leave the people to be self-destructive because they don't give them any instruction, proper instruction. When the police come there, it's to make the madness happen because they behave in the same mad way. So psychologically programming the people in the same mad way to be rebellious, you know, whites come in the area, police roughshod over here, so the people get rebellious. This is what they program you to. That's why you have to have an army. That's why what I deal with is the black army of King David. The Imperial Majesty was in charge of the army. The king is the head of the church and the state. The state is the army. It's the people's army. Burnham was quite in order, and it's the people. The army's responsibility is to. So, every citizen and soldier is the order of the black nation. That's the philosophy from birth. Every citizen, from the time you come into the womb, you're a citizen. As a regular birth, you're a registered citizen. And you're a soldier. Just waiting for the day to put on your uniform. Physically and mentally. You're not get a uniform. You're already a soldier. So this is the philosophy of the black nation. We now under the Rome. Not we, because I ain't under no Rome. I overthrow Rome. I don't follow Rome. So this is what I would like Mr. Graves to know. We don't be under dictatorships. The Almighty is not a dictator. He never come and lock me up or tell me anything about smoking him. And neither did Burnham. When Rastas went to him concerning police harassment in the park. And they were thinking of charging us. He told them, he called up somebody and tell them, the case with the Rastas, it's a band. We had permission to use the park, we had electricity, we had a string band, it was last day or day, and we were playing music. And one little youth was smoking, and the police could carry him away. Others hold on in his hands, he couldn't carry him, because he was a young youth. And he went and brought the rest and said the Rastas wanted to beat him up, which is a total lie. So they come with ignorance, you know, because the society teaches disrespect and anti-black culture. From since in the days of Rome, ruling black people, the Roman Catholics and Anglicans who run slavery and got rich. The richest bank in the world is the Vatican Bank. The second richest bank in the world is the Bank of England. This one is the church bank, this one is the state bank. The Vatican is a church bank, and the Bank of England is a state bank. It's also a church, but the church is a state. Rome split into church and state. Rome was church and state in the earlier days. The Vatican had the army, the Vatican army, yeah, England took over. But it still don't make a difference because it's them two is church and state. The Vatican agree to that them be the church and England be the state. Data of understanding. I got the postcard issued in 1907, you know, church and state. Postcard, they name it that. Which people post around the world. Europeans post to each other. A postcard named the church and state. In it, there is a priest in brown smock representing the Catholic Church, and there is a female one step back in all over white in a red and blue sash representing the Church of England and the Queen. he representing the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope. They are the church and the state. You figure out the postcard. Why are the two of them there on that church and state postcard? A male priest in brown smock and a female in red, white, and blue, in white dress with red and blue. Anyway, if you're bride, or as Proverbs say, where there is wisdom, right? So, that's the system we're under, and we are not supposed to be under. It's time to say you have to promote the black army, each and every citizen a soldier. That is our philosophy. We are not cowards, we are not girls, we are not boys, we are sovereigns. So, sometimes people think that I am talking nonsense. So, I got get my evidence, and I call myself Mr. Evidence. You know? So I always make sure I got evidence. Now, here it is in the Guyana Constitution, right? Where the preamble, starting from there, right? Well, let's go to the first, the state and the Constitution, the first article. Guyana is an indivisible, secular, democratic, sovereign state. In the course of transition from capitalism to socialism, and shall be known as the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Guyana is an indivisible, secular, democratic, sovereign state. In the course of transition from capitalism to socialism. It turned back. So, I like to prove my point. Then, as we continue, right, we go to article number 9, which says, principles and basis, this is chapter 2, principles and basis of the political, economic, and social system. And it says, sovereignty belongs to the people who exercise it through their representatives and democratic organs established by or under this Constitution. Sovereignty belongs to the people alone, not to the representatives, not to the ministers, not to the parliament, not to the president, not to the judges. It belongs to the people. They are only under our power, have the power of sovereignty when they come as the people. You are not sovereignty power as a judge. You are under the people. That's why you have to sign an oath to observe the Constitution. Are you observing it when it says sovereignty belongs to the people? And are you observing it when you allow foreign powers to dictate, like Mr. Hyde, that we go back to capitalism, free market enterprise, which we already had, but not to the elimination of socialism, which is what happened. We are into pure capitalism, no socialism, very few co-ops working. So sovereignty does not belong to the people. The people like mouse in a corner. That's why you have to step up. Because black people is not mouse, not monkey. You can't give me peanuts. Now, peanuts is a small thing. That's why the people tell you, that's what you're working for. You're working for peanuts. And that's why you give peanuts to a monkey. Because you could satisfy a monkey. Peanuts can't satisfy a man. You gotta eat a crocus bag of peanuts. So you're working for peanuts. Peanuts is a little thing. Just give it to monkeys. Now human beings with children to feed. No. So, sovereignty belongs to the people. And concerning, so I'm supposed to be listened to because I'm a sovereign. And especially when I'm reasoning from the Constitution, which the article before that says, it is the, well, number 7 says, it is the duty of every citizen of Guyana, wherever he or she may be, and of every person in Guyana, to respect the national flag, the coat of arms, the national anthem, the national pledge, and the Constitution of Guyana, and to treat them with due and proper solemnity on all occasions. The next article says, Article 8, supremacy of the Constitution. This Constitution is the supreme law of Guyana. Not the president, not the judges, not the parliament, not the ministers. The Constitution, this Constitution, the supreme law of Guyana. And if any other law is inconsistent with it, that other law shall be, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. Now let me see if the marijuana law is inconsistent. Because, like I said, Rasta was here before this Constitution was written in 1980, which is the new Constitution, after the Independence Constitution. 38 says it is the duty of every citizen to defend the state. And 33 said that. 34 says, it is the duty of the state to enhance the cohesiveness of the society by eliminating discriminatory distinctions between classes, between town and country, and between mental and physical labor. And concerning that law being null and void, the marijuana law, this is what Article 38 says. 38F. No person's religion or religious belief shall be vilified. This is why Mr. Burnham legalized opium. As long as you don't go in and kill nobody with no knife and no gun and no, you're free. Because he said, all the religions are actually like cults. He said there are other cults in this country. But because of their size, they have been bypassed as that cult status. But the things they do make them cults. So, they are allowed to practice their religion. People who practice different spirituality are allowed to practice. That's what they believe in. No person's religion or religious belief shall be vilified. Rastafarians' religion and religious belief is being vilified when you give them 3 years in jail for using the hemp, which is part of the culture. Part and parcel of their culture before the ganja law was instituted in this country after 1937. Rastafari exists since 1930 with the crowning of His Imperial Majesty. Immediately, Majesty was praised as the Redeemer, the returned Christ for African people, if you don't want to say the word. And this is how Rastafari started. No one didn't come and start Rastafari. It started, and it spread, and it keep on spreading, and it will keep on spreading until judgment. And Rasta represent the black army, 100%, real Rastas. So, no part of religion or religious beliefs to be vilified. And think Africans are vilifying our belief. When Africans come from a nation led by an Almighty who never prosecutes a man for using the herb that he put here for the man to use. Unless that herb is the tree of good and evil. I still to find that proven. 40 years smoking marijuana in this country, we should already have known that that is the herb of good and evil. Show me it. Where the reports in the papers about when people smoke marijuana, how many crimes they commit, what they did, all this. Mr. Granger, Queen's College is supposed to be the top school in Guyana. I'm starting to question that. It was really so. Because maybe I'm an idiot, even though I went there. I guess Mr. Boredom is an idiot too. The amount of people went there, they're all idiots. Because if I'm an idiot, they're idiot too. Because it's a school for idiots. That produces idiots. She has Ramphal, Fred Wales, Ben Pollard, Messiah, Joey Jagon, Shelly Jagon, Mr. Trotman. So many people. Mr. Granger himself went there. So we're all idiots. That's why I come on TV, because I would like to know if I'm an idiot. I give people a chance to prove it. I'm not afraid to come here, and I call on people to challenge me. So Guyanese will learn. Africans will learn, because the greatest thing in the earth is knowledge. That's why I come here. Because when you get knowledge that you're going wrong, or you're from folly, you can correct yourself. If you don't know that, how can you do that? So, that law is null and void. Rasta formed up before this law was made in 1937. It's funny how his Imperial Majesty come as the Ganja king. It's strange things happen around Majesty, you know. Imagine immediately people praise him as the Creator, as the returned Christ. Then people smoke and say ganja. Then a music come out named reggae, challenging all other music and rule up the world. And the music come to chant down Babylon. Wicked people, wickedness, evil. And it make man turn vegetarian. What more? And sing great song when they had job and make big money. Bob Marley told the world, Babylon by boss, and so many more, till to this day. Traveling around, chronics here, chronics in Canada, chronics in Japan. So how these people get all this power from this clown Selassie, who has no powers? How do they get this power? These little ordinary people in some Jamaican street corner, soon they gone, touring the world. Mr. Granger, we are Africans. We have got sense. We have to have a philosophy. Is our philosophy the Roman philosophy of the mark of the beast, the dollar? No, it's not. That's why born about price control and rent control. And we cannot be dictated to by people who don't deal with the Almighty Creator. The white man speaks with forked tongue. He deceives you all the time. He tells you whatever you want to do. And you change it tomorrow. You want to bet me? Ask anybody He could tell you anything today because he don't care if he change it tomorrow. He just doesn't care. Can't you see? Mandela them told you to get back the country. They ain't get back no country. You think you out of slavery? You not no slavery. You will be dictated to. That's why they build the military. That's why I knew why to be free. The Black Army got rolling. And I was quite confident that I free. So, Mr. Granger, as I tell people, if they are challenged, do not just say, man, I didn't have the ganja. Challenge for your religious rights. There's even individual rights that gave you those rights. And you have rights to represent yourself in court as a lawyer. It's in this book. All your rights in here. So I can represent the ganja case to you and speak on your behalf and explain to the judge, we don't know, because judges don't read Constitution. All the people in Guyana, when you hear them speak, they just read a piece, we concern them, and then what we read. Anyway, my time is going, and I have to show you a piece, this DVD. I don't know how much minutes I can get to show now, because I don't even know how many minutes I got left. But that's the case. Could you start showing? And I just want to say one thing before. I don't know if we could get some focus on this board. So I can show people what is leadership, what Majesty says on leadership. The world is always well supplied with people who wish to rule and dominate others. The true leader is of a different sort. He seeks effective activity which has a truly beneficent purpose. He inspires others to follow in his wake, and holding aloft the torch of wisdom leads the way for society to realize its genuinely great aspirations. Leaders are people who raise the standards by which they judge themselves and by which they are willing to be judged. A love of high quality, we must remember, is essential in a leader. Mr. Granger, you all have to have the come and speak to the people. That is the highest quality, because sovereignty belongs to the people. And prove your point. If you all have these points, just come and prove it. No one has proved the point to me yet. All the talk about marijuana, all the jail people get. No one has proven to me I heard something intelligent. Why? What's wrong? With evidence. Not one time in this country. Operator? Now, this is the DVD that I gave, one of them, that I gave to Mr. Granger, 2016. Rastafari is based on intelligence.
Which goes to the oral history of China, is that the Emperor Shan Nen wrote the first Chinese Materia Medica, and that it contained cannabis. He is alleged to have written it in 2637 BC, which would be almost 5,000 years ago. The oldest known copy of that goes back to somewhere between 100 BC and 100 AD. The oldest actual written record of the use of cannabis as a medicine is found in the writings of the Indian, as in India, Ayurvedic medicine, in which that a piece of history is dated at somewhere between 1100 and 1700 BC. Cannabis is found in every major materia medica that has ever been written. That includes the Ebers Papyrus from Egypt. It includes the writing of Dioscorides, who was Nero's doctor. And his materia medica was used for over 1,000 years. And it was included in the United States Pharmacopoeia from 1854 until 1941.
Marijuana has been a medicine for a lot longer than it hasn't been a medicine. Evidence suggests that it was used in northern China for either shamanistic purposes, religion, or healing. And the culture of cannabis as medicine moved across the world. India was very big in the use of marijuana, and it was from India that W.B. O'Shaughnessy, who worked for the British East Indies Company, picked up cannabis and brought it to the United Kingdom, where apparently it was Queen Victoria's favorite treatment for her menstrual cramps. Ultimately, it came to the U.S., and in the early part of the 20th century, most of the major drug companies in this country were actually producing cannabis medicines.
Up until the beginning of the 20th century, cannabis was probably the second or third most commonly used medicine in the world. Cannabis was found in patent medicines that were manufactured by such familiar names as Eli Lilly, Squibb, Merck, Parke-Davis, Smith Brothers, the Smith Brothers cough drops. And it was available powdered, chopped, whole, and as tinctures.
It was only in 1937 when Congress enacted the Marijuana Tax Act that imposed a levy of $1 an ounce for the use of medical marijuana that was the beginning of the end for marijuana as a medicine in the United States. It was in 1942 that it was totally removed from the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, or the formulary, but up until 1942, physicians could still write prescriptions for cannabis. So, marijuana hasn't been a medicine for 68 years in this country, but it has been a medicine in the world for 3,000 years.
There was the misconception that use of marijuana led to debauchery and physical violence, and for that reason, I guess the investigator, I guess we were probably more conservative than we are now. That's hard to believe. So it was considered the way alcohol was considered back in the time of Prohibition. And so it was prohibited, all uses of marijuana, because it had been used medicinally as well as for recreationally. So all uses were declared illegal, and marijuana then was given the status of a Schedule I substance, which means a substance without any recognized, any demonstrable therapeutic effects, as opposed to cocaine, which was also declared illegal for recreational use, but it still had medicinal properties as a local anesthetic, for which it is used today, to this day. That's Schedule II.
When the Marijuana Tax Act was passed in 1937, immediately Fiorello LaGuardia, who was the mayor of New York, established an august body of scientists to investigate whether the claims that marijuana use was going to increase mental illness and crime in the United States were valid. And the LaGuardia Commission report was issued in 1942, and they concluded that marijuana was a good medicine, and that the claims that its use would increase crime and mental illness were unsubstantiated.
Prohibition cannot be enforced for the simple reason that the majority of American people do not want it enforced and are resisting its enforcement. That being so, the orderly thing to do under our form of government is to abolish a law which cannot be enforced, a law which the people of the country do not want enforced.
That sentiment was repeated in 1972 when the Nixon Marijuana Commission wrote their report. This was in the face of the admonition by President Nixon that they not recommend the legalization of cannabis for recreational use.
Oh, there is a commission that is supposed to make recommendations to me about this subject.
The recommendation of the commission in its first report is that we do not feel that private use or private possession in one's own home should have the stigma of criminalization, that people who experiment should not be criminalized for that particular behavior.
Every 10 years or so, our government has sponsored another look into marijuana as medicine. The last one actually now being 1999, when the Institute of Medicine did it. And every 10 years, these august bodies come up with the same conclusion, that there's medicinal value to marijuana and its adverse effects and addictive potential and gateway drugness are overstated. And for some reason, every 10 years, these reports go, I don't know if they're ignored, but they certainly don't seem to change policy.
In 1974, a fellow with glaucoma who was going blind named Robert Randall was arrested for possession of marijuana. He had found that using the marijuana had diminished the symptoms that he was having, and it was later found by both Johns Hopkins and the Jules Stein Eye Institute at UCLA that this was the only thing that would preserve his eyesight. And the federal government then agreed to provide Mr. Randall with marijuana for medical purposes. He had made an agreement, or the government thought he had made an agreement, not to tell anybody about this. Well, as soon as it happened, he told as many people as he could, and began to spread the word, and people began to apply for this program, which was called the IND program. At one time, there were as many as 15 Americans who were receiving 300 hand-rolled marijuana cigarettes a month from the federal government. And there were another 35 people who were approved for the program. In 1989, the first Bush administration decided that they needed to review this. They were concerned that too many people were applying for the program, and if too many people got on it, the public might get the, quote, wrong idea that marijuana actually had some medical value, which of course it actually does have some medical value. Just prior to that time, in 1988, the chief administrative law judge of the Food and Drug Administration issued a ruling recommending that marijuana be rescheduled from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. In his ruling, he found that marijuana was one of the safest therapeutic agents known to man, and he stated that it was safer than eating 10 potatoes. So I've always been very careful about the number of potatoes I've eaten since then.
Marijuana was widely used in the 19th century for the treatment of asthma. And in the 1970s, we found that marijuana has a bronchodilator effect. It's because of the THC in marijuana. First of all, let's compare and contrast marijuana with the other, even more widely smoked substance in our society, tobacco. The tobacco was used more widely than any other smoked substance, and marijuana is second only to tobacco.
Lucy?
Yes, dear.
Give me a cigarette, will you, hon?
Don't say cigarettes. Say Philip Morris.
Oh? Is there any other kind?
Not for you, there isn't. Nothing but the best for Mr. Ricardo.
Thank you. Lucy, you're so good to me.
You see how easy it is to keep a man happy? Why not give your husband a carton of Philip Morris cigarettes?
Smart move. He'll love them for their mildness, their smoothness, and their wonderful good taste. And he'll love you, too, for thinking of him.
That's right. Good night, everybody. And don't forget, call for Philip Morris. Call for Philip.
We know that if you analyze the contents of tobacco and marijuana, they're quite similar. The major difference is that tobacco contains nicotine, not found in marijuana, and marijuana contains THC and about 60 other THC-like substances called cannabinoids, not found in tobacco. But there are a lot of other particulates that are shared in common, and these include carcinogens, such as benzpyrene, the most potent of the carcinogens and considered to be responsible for a large percentage of human cancers. Benzpyrene is found in 50% higher concentration in marijuana smoke than in the smoke from a comparable quantity of tobacco. And this has been shown by 3 separate groups of chemical investigators. So the expectation is that if you smoke marijuana enough and on a regular basis, that you would incur similar risks to smoking tobacco. So what are the major health risks for tobacco? Emphysema, which I prefer to call chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's the new term. It consists of chronic bronchitis and emphysema. But you could have significant impairment in lung function without emphysema. It could just be due to airways disease, what we call small airways disease. But because we can't separate out the 2 components of COPD, emphysema, and the airways component, we lump them together. So that's COPD. So now COPD is the 4th leading cause of death in the U.S. and in the world, and will become the 3rd leading cause in 2020. So it's a very important disease. About 120,000 Americans die each year from COPD. Probably the best evidence for separating out, the best method for separating out a COPD patient from someone else is to look at the rate of decline in lung function. I shouldn't say the best. It's probably the most informative. But it's more difficult to do because you have to make measurements every year for a number of years. And so you get a slope of the rate of loss of lung function over time. We did that. We actually measured lung function every year in our marijuana smokers up to 8 years. And we found that the slope of the decline in lung function was almost identical in the marijuana-only smokers compared to the non-smokers, where it was accelerated in the tobacco smokers. So just one other piece of evidence that...
Yes, greeting once again. Sorry, I have to go. I probably was only able to give you about 20 minutes, but we'll continue it in my next program. And we need to get knowledge and stop being an illiterate people, else we remain at the bottom. Thanks to Safe TV. Thanks to Brother Dale. I'll see you in the next 2 weeks. Remember the Ethiopian New Year just passed, which is the 11th of September, and the House of Naibingi celebrated up in Tokbor Berbice. So you mean we have a new year and things have to change once more. See you in the next 2 weeks.